Welcome to What Not to Do, the podcast where we uncover the challenges, pitfalls, and behind the scenes struggles that leaders face on their journey to growth. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by Adi Klevit, the CEO of Business Consulting Group and the host of the System Simplified podcast. I actually first came across Addie's work on LinkedIn, where she's constantly sharing insights about scaling businesses, building consistencies, and creating freedom for entrepreneurs. What stood out to me was how practical her approach is, helping companies move away from the chaos and dependencies on a few rock stars towards documented processes that anyone can follow. In today's conversation, we'll dig into one of the biggest traps founders fall into, over reliance on star players, and explore the what not to do's when it comes to building sustainable, system driven companies. Addy, it's a pleasure to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here. And the topic of conversation is, it's a passion of mine. So I'm excited to be here and share with the listeners and answer your questions.
Great, Addy. So, could you walk us through your journey from industrial engineering to founding Business Consulting Group?
Yeah, so I started business success consulting group because I saw the need of entrepreneurs to get help in documenting, optimizing, implementing processes and procedures. So it was a natural transition. As an industrial
Mm-hmm.
engineer, you are constantly looking at how to improve things, how to make sure that things flow from one to another, to understand
Mm-hmm.
what is the input, what is the output, what are the decision points in between. And that is the essence of good documenting processes and procedures. And it's not just for big manufacturing companies. It is applicable to every business that is out there. So that is, I would say it was a natural transition from one to another.
Right, absolutely. I think you actually found that, gap into the market and you targeted that gap. That's really interesting to know.
That's
I've
exactly
often
right.
you right. So I have seen you often talk about entrepreneurs creating freedom for themselves. What does that freedom mean to you personally?
For me, it means that you do not have to be in the business all the time, that you have people
Okay.
you can trust that
Mm-hmm.
are loyal but are also trained,
Mm-hmm.
that know how to do the different aspects of the organization, and then you can actually scale. You really cannot scale without having that in place. It's like our body. I mean, we have all these organs that are working together. If one of them is out of
Mm-hmm.
sync, then we don't feel well. But we can't have a body with only one organ. It just won't work. It won't be that the brain is now going to do everything. No, you need your liver, you need your heart, you need your lungs, you need everything in order to function. Well, the same thing with a company. You have to have all the
Right.
different parts, right? And it cannot all be relying on you as the founder, as the entrepreneur. And I experienced that myself. I wore so many hats, and then I started delegating those hats one by one. And I was
Mm-hmm.
contemplating it the other day. I go like, wow, this is so cool. I'm actually can go and run an errand that I needed to do in the middle of the day, do something personal, but things are still happening. Still are happening in the
Right.
business. It doesn't just rely on me because I have a
Right.
team. And that's what it means to me.
Oh, absolutely. I have also seen, founders sometimes glamorizing this particular thing when they are wearing all the hats together, which I feel personally is very problematic. Like I've also seen people saying that I'm like a one-man army of, something of that kind, which really is not sustainable in the long run, right?
No,
So,
it's not.
yeah, so talking about the key star players, in your experience, what's the most common mistakes businesses make when they rely too much on their top talents? And can you share an example of companies suffering major setbacks after losing a key player?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So if you rely on your top talent, I mean, you of course need to rely on top talents. You have to have top talent. When we are talking
Right.
here about relying, let's define that. That means that The knowledge is in their heads. So if they walk out the door, the knowledge walks as well. It is
Mhm.
that feeling of I'm relying on that person, and if that person is gone, nothing is going to happen in my company. Or it's the feeling of there is no accountability, there is no like from anybody else, but it just everything falls on the shoulders of that particular person. And again, it's the problem becomes when that person leaves, that person is sick, that person wants to take a vacation, that person gets burned out, that person,
Mm.
something unexpected happens. It's the proverbial getting run by the bus situation. I like to say, well, what if they win the lottery and they just decide to go somewhere that they have like an opportunity to pack their bags and just go somewhere that is off the grid? Whatever it is. I
Right.
mean, I think by those examples, you can understand what the problem is. And I remember very clearly have one of my strategic partners that referred to us a lot of business, and he called me. I was in the airport going to visit family over Thanksgiving, and he said,
Mm.
"Look, Adi, I need your help. I have a client. I mean, he's an advisor, and he says one of my clients has a crisis. And what happened? Well, one of the operation manager, the key employee that holds all the knowledge in their heads, basically announced just before Thanksgiving that he's giving a 2 week notice and he's gone." And I was like, and he
Oh,
needed to do all the knowledge transfer. And, I told my dear friend, I said, Steve, this is not going to happen. I mean, I'm here going on vacation or visit family. I have all my staff, it was literally Wednesday before Thanksgiving, and we already have a week gone by the time we're all back. And this is going to be set up for failure. That's why businesses have to be prepared for it. It doesn't mean you're not going to hire top talent. You are, but you have to have your processes documented. You have to know what they are so you can always take over and the knowledge is not being held hostage. And there is also
right.
another point of sometimes you don't necessarily want to hire top talent that has experience in your industry because they might be not a fit for your culture. And I have a
Mhm.
perfect
Right.
example of it, right? We were working with a property management company, and they were specialized in a specific market, and they were very much, well, nobody, I need people that have the specific experience because we can train them. So they had to compromise on their culture, and that created very big problems because you will have
Mhm.
we know that culture is the most important thing. I mean, it's the fabric of any organization. But if you have to
True.
hire people with experience that are top talent, it's a
Mhm.
problem. If they don't have the
Right.
culture aspect as well, or the personality doesn't match, or it will create. So what happened? It created a lot of chaos because that person came in with a different viewpoint, and it became
Mm.
chaotic. The solution
Right.
was to document everything, to optimize the processes, to have training manuals. And the biggest win that the owner had at the end of the project, he told me, now I can hire the people I want to hire. I can hire for culture and train them. I mean, obviously,
Mhm.
they need to have the aptitude, they need to have the skills. But by doing that, by having that realization, you realize, wow, okay, processes are so important because it allows me to train people, even though they might
Mm.
not have the experience, but they have what it takes to be part of our group.
Right, right. So scaling is not just about the stars or the top talents, but it's about creating reputable processes altogether.
That's correct.
So, Addy, how can leaders start the shift from people dependence to process dependence without demotivating their high performers?
Yeah. So the first thing is make a decision. It's a mindset thing. So
Right.
I have a whole workshop that I do about process-driven culture. And it doesn't mean
Mhm.
that now you're going to be, people have the misconception now they're going to be so strict because, like processes are going to impede expansion or impede creativity. And it's the opposite. That's why you have to work on your mindset. You have to understand
Right.
that in order to be super creative and create a lot, you got to have processes in place. So that's number
Right.
one. So you have to
Mm-hmm.
have that mindset. Number two is be transparent and get buy-in from the team. Explain why, if you are not already process driven, then you need to get with the team and figure out that shift of how can I become process driven? Why processes are so important? Explain to each one, but also get from them what is in it for them, understand from their viewpoint what is important for them, and get that buy in. Once you have that, then embark on the process documentation project. Document existing state. Don't just isolate one or two people. That would be suspicious and it will be incorrect. Do it as a company-wide endeavor and start with those areas that you feel that are there is the most risk or are going to get you the biggest return on investment. But those are really the starting points on how to get going.
Right, right, absolutely. Coming on to the what not to do segment. So we would really, like to know your views about what's the biggest myth you would like to boast about scaling businesses with talent first thinking.
Yeah, that you're depending on talent, which is not, and talent is hard to find. Those are two
Right.
things that I hear. Talent is hard to find. Well, I mean, somebody's finding that talent. So the viewpoint, the mindset, first of all, has to be my talent that I'm looking for is out there. That person is out there
Hmm.
because it's either you're going to
Hmm.
hire them or somebody else is going to hire them. Okay, so that talent does
Right.
exist. It doesn't have to be the rock star. You can make rock stars. That's another myth. I can make rock stars. Talent don't. Well, if you don't have a good hiring process, then you need to establish a good hiring process. And that's again something
Right.
that has to be documented, something that has to be known, and it has to be proven method of doing it. But if you don't know how to hire, then learn how to hire. If you feel like you have a hard time finding talent, then let's work on your hiring process. And then also make sure that you have a method of really onboarding and training your talent. And that is documenting the processes and making the processes known. So you're bringing somebody on and you're training them and you're showing them what you're doing, and then they can rise up and shine.
Right, right. I really like this point that, that rock stars can be made. People actually run behind talents, searching for talents, but nurturing and creation of talents is something that is very less spoken about, and that's something to be like really highlighted. So
Absolutely.
finally, Addie, what's your unfiltered truth about building a business that most people don't want to hear?
Say that one again.
So what's like the unfiltered truth about building a business that most people don't want to hear?
What do they want to hear? It, that it can be
Yes.
done, that it can be done, that it's possible. I mean, some people want to just argue that it's not possible, but it is possible, that anything is possible. And it
Mhm.
sounds maybe too big, too airy, but it's true. If you decide that it's possible and then act upon it in order to learn how to do it, do all the right things, it will become possible because others are doing it. So why not you?
Right, right, right. And if you had to give like one piece of advice to entrepreneurs who are scaling fast right now, what would it be?
It's really follow that path, that something can be done, that there is a solution. One thing that I learned,
Mm.
and somebody gave me that advice and I want to pass it on, is basically refusing to participate in bad news, in can be done attitude, in negativity. Just refuse to participate and just go your own route, your own road to success, and decide, yes, it can be done. I am going to use all the tools that are out, all the correct tools in order to get to where I need to be getting.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. And talking about business success consulting group, what's your long-term vision for the company?
It's to continue to expand. We're expanding, we're scaling ourselves, we're doing great, and to help many people achieve order and organization. So there is stability and there is success.
Great, great. So, Addie, thank you so much for joining me today and for sharing such practical wisdom. What really stood out to me is the reminder that while star players can make a can make business shine in the long term, relying on them alone is one of the biggest mistakes leaders can make altogether. So yeah, thank you
That's
so
exactly
much.
right.
So yeah. So thank you again for being here. And to all our listeners, thank you for tuning in into another episode of What Not to Do. If you have enjoyed this conversation, be sure to subscribe, share it with fellow entrepreneurs, and join us till next time. We continue to uncover the struggles behind the successes. Until then, remember, it's not about what to do, but what not to do that keeps us growing. Thank you.